Ethan had it all: wealth, charm, and a fiance who was the envy of everyone. Sophia was a powerhouse of a woman, a top executive at a multinational firm. Their families had been close for years, and their engagement was seen as the perfect union of two dynasties. But Ethan, having the thought of an African man, always thought that Sophia was too much of a woman for him. He was restless and yearned for something undefined, feeling trapped in the predictability of his life. One evening, he went out with his friends to a trendy restaurant downtown. As they laughed over drinks, a waiter caught his eyes. She was petite, with striking green eyes and a shy demeanor. Her name tag read Lila. Ethan watched as she gracefully maneuvered through the crowded room. Her laughter soft but infectious when she spoke to customers. "Who's that?" Ethan asked, nudging his friend. "Just a waiter," his friend replied dismissively. But Ethan couldn't get Lila off his mind. A love blossoms over the next few weeks. Ethan began visiting the restaurant frequently. Each time, he found an excuse to talk to Lila. She seemed kind, humble, and entirely different from the women in his social circle. Ethan admired her simplicity and the way she lit up when she talked about her dreams of becoming a writer someday. "This is it," Ethan said. "A typical African woman who will respect me, who will not talk back at me. Unlike Sophia, who believes in feminism and the fact that women and men are equal. Here was a woman who was ready to worship the ground on which he walked on." Their connection deepened quickly, and before long, Ethan found himself confessing his feelings. He didn't tell her about his wealth, wanting her to love him for who he was, not what he had. Lila, with tears in her eyes, said she felt the same. The only problem was Sophia. Ethan broke off his engagement, shocking both their families. Sophia was heartbroken, but she maintained her dignity, wishing him well despite the betrayal. What Ethan did not, however, know was that Lila was aware that he was from a wealthy home from the onset. Before long, Ethan moved Lila into his luxurious penthouse, showering her with gifts and promises of a future together. At first, everything seemed perfect, but cracks soon began to appear. Lila became increasingly demanding, asking for expensive jewelries and trips. She dismissed his friends as snobs and alienated him from his family. Ethan, blinded by love, overlooked it all. But one night, Ethan came home early and found Lila on the phone. She didn't notice him standing in the doorway. "I'm telling you, once I get the deed to his properties and get access to his bank account, I'm out of here," she whispered. "He's so gullible, it's almost boring." This was a deadly plan. Determined to confront her, Ethan waited until she hung up. When he demanded an explanation, Lila turned cold. She admitted everything. She had targeted him from the moment he walked into the restaurant, but before he could leave, Lila lunged at him with a knife. "Who do you think you are? You believe in the thoughts of an African woman who will worship the ground on which you walk on. Let me tell you something. I am not ready to be slave to a man like you. You are a narcissist. You are just not the kind of man for me. Who would even want to be with you?" As she moved towards him, Ethan managed to wrestle it away and called the police. Lila was arrested. Her plans to drain his accounts and flee was exposed. Too late for forgiveness, Ethan realized how foolish he had been. He reached out to Sophia, hoping to apologize and win her back. They met at a cafe where he poured out his heart, begging for forgiveness. Sophia listened patiently, but her eyes were distant. Ethan, I loved you once, she said softly, but you broke my trust. I've moved on. It was then Ethan noticed the engagement ring on her finger. He treats me with respect I deserve, she continued. I wish you the best, but I can't go back to a man like you. As she walked away, Ethan was left alone, the weight of his mistake crushing him. In the years that followed, Ethan though found love again, but he knew that no woman would be like Sophia. Sophia was a woman who believed in the impossible. He remembered the times that Sophia pushed him to be the best version of himself. She respected him and she did everything to make him happy. It was just a pity that he was more of an African man, thinking only of himself than seeing the good in front of him. Alas, he lost the love of his life.